Okay, so I'm walking along. It's very quiet. The fish aren't even awake. I walk in here, turn on the light. God damn it. There he is waiting for me. He's like, you get up earlier than I do, dude.
Well, I have a little bit of an advantage because of time zones, but yes, I get up
Oh, so
pretty
you're
early.
it's the time space continuum.
A time space continuum.
Good morning,
and
my
I
friend.
and I have horses that believe me, they let you know if you're late.
I have cats who are similar. Like, hey, Pops, get up. Time to
Yep.
feed me. Time to entertain me. This is my good friend Dewey
Right.
Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We're the
Good
Elder
morning, everybody.
Council. Good morning. Oh, man. I've been thinking it's a few weeks out from Father's Day. And I've been thinking about that. It's kind of on my mind a bit, mostly because my father-in-law, who is fantastic, Kimberly's dad, is amazing because Father's Day for him is all about me. Forget the fact I'm also a dad. No,
Hmm.
this is his day. He's the senior dad in this situation.
Got it. He's the big dad.
And what he likes to do is he seeks out adventures and then plans said adventures for us to go on as a family, all the while keeping it secret from me and Kimberly.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's done
So
this
you have
for
no idea.
zero. Just where we have to be at what time, don't be late. And they're always amazing, absolutely amazing. He's
How
taken
fun
us
is that?
on a private plane out to the Channel Islands. We've gone horseback riding on the beach. We've gone zip lining. We've gone hot air ballooning. We've gone. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And he's my senior by several years,
Hmm?
and his sense of adventure is admirable, and the relationship my wife has with him is admirable.
Mm.
And it's something I never had. Right. I had a absent dad I saw once a year, passed away earlier this year. So dad is kind of on my mind. My family's all coming to Santa Barbara. We were going to celebrate my dad's 95th birthday, but he passed away earlier, but everybody had the weekend marked off anyway. So they said, hey, let's all meet in Santa Barbara and have the first annual uh, family reunion, which is going to be fantastic.
Wow,
But I
when is that
just
going to be?
going to be in late July,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
we're going to go do a service out on the beach,
Hmm.
and everybody is. My son has stepped up to have T-shirts made. I mean, and none of us are the let's all wear the same T-shirt kind of people. But he said that's exactly why we need to do it, Pops. That's the deal.
Totally.
So it's got me thinking about my relationship with my son, my relationship as my father, my role as a father, my role as a son, my role as a son-in-law. So all of that stuff all kind of wrapped up. And I thought we might talk about that today.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. Is there anything in particular with that you want to address? And I mean, when you speak to that, I'm sure that mm, everybody that's listening to this has different relationships with their
Well,
fathers,
yeah.
sons,
You
brothers.
you deal with families. That's your practice is dealing with dads and moms and sons and daughters and all of that. So I think we're going to get some practical advice or experience from you. But here's what I think is interesting, at least for me,
Okay.
that on the one hand, I loved my dad, but never knew my dad, so he was really not in my life. The memories I have of him would take
Hmm.
one line on, single line paper. I could kind of line those out. So I didn't have that deep relationship. Yet it was positive. And I wouldn't say it was dysfunctional. It just was absent,
Minimal.
minimal. Yeah. And I look at my wife, who, when I met her, she's like, I gotta call my dad. I said, what's wrong? I was just calling my dad. But, you know, what's up? What's up? She's just,
Mm.
I just want to talk to my dad. Why? Just because people do that? Not in my experience.
What planet are you from? What planet is he from?
And so over the last 20 years, I've experienced what a functional family is like, one that loves and
Mm.
supports and cares, and just they'll call, heard you had a headache. What? Yeah. How you doing? Really? Yeah. Huh.
Wow.
Just yeah.
Because.
Yeah. And when I was separated, so before, when Kimberly and I just started, seeing one another, my son was like, hey, bad decision, Dad, I'm out. So
In regard to you and Kimberly?
Yeah. So for a while, he's, no. And it took a sit down about 3 months later, up at the TED conference. He drove down, and we were in Monterey, and we went on a long walk and just had a man-to-man talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, and our relationship shifted then and became what it is now, which is very deep, very personal, very vulnerable, very honest, very loving. Because I at that point, when I was thinking I might have lost that relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't want him to say, I didn't later be sitting in this chair saying,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a relationship with my dad. I wanted to say, okay, let's not let that happen. That's on me. Right.
Right.
So I think parents and all that are complicated.
So, well, what strikes me about that, with what you're saying, is that you as a father were willing to fight for your relationship with your son on some level.
Yeah. Yes.
As well as fighting for your relationship with then, and I don't know if you and Kimberly had been married yet.
No.
But
no.
you were willing to fight for that relationship too. So it was not a relationship. It was not a situation of either or for you. It was and we talk about this a lot, is that was a relationship of both and.
Yes.
I love you, son, and here's a relationship that I want with you, the relationship I want with you. And again, don't let me put words in your mouth, because I don't know how far along your and Kimberly's relationship was at that point.
Oh, it was 4 months.
Yeah.
So it was nascent.
Yeah. It was what?
Nascent. It's my favorite word for things that are just starting.
Got it. I don't know if I've ever heard that word. Well, what my guess is because I do know Kimberly, and my guess is you were falling in love with her for good reason.
Oh, it was one of those within 14 seconds of meeting her.
Right. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
And so it was like you were holding this piece of having a relationship with two people, two very different relationships, but two very deep relationships.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder how many, because you mentioned that I do work with families a lot, which is accurate. There's so many times in families where there's a situation where it's an either or, where somebody says, you have to, if you're going to be with so-and-so, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that, then you can't be with me. Or, I mean, that kind of
make a choice.
Right. Yeah. Sort of a forced choice. Actually, if it goes to a certain point, it becomes almost a hostage situation. It's like you're either
Oh,
with
what?
me, a hostage situation.
Wow.
Well, it can get there because it's like, I mean, I'm not even, I don't know your son, so please understand this is totally made up. And if he hears this, please understand it's totally made up. Is like he could have held you hostage,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
where it's
Withhold the
like, well,
love unless I make a decision that he
with
likes.
all the love. Yeah, it's like, I mean, that kind of a situation where it's like, and I have many families like that, that, um, and
So
it,
I'm guessing our listener right now has some experience in that. And what's your counsel in that? Because this, you know what this sounds, this reminds me of control versus power.
exactly.
Ah, I'm a good student there, Obi-Wan.
You are all over it. Well, it's that, but it's also, I don't know exactly why this thought just came into my head. But it also, I think, has to do with fear of loss of a particular kind of relationship.
Hence, which gives the hostage situation leverage.
Right. And it's like what I'm really wondering about here, and this is shifting a little bit. What I'm wondering about is how many people that are listening right now fear the loss of a relationship with their father, or how many men fear a loss of relationship with one or more of their children.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay,
and
I'm gonna
jump
challenge
on,
that. I'm gonna
jump on it.
challenge that because I don't believe in fear. We've talked about this.
Go for it, my friend.
Well, fear is it's a fear of the unknown. It's like I don't know what's going to happen, so I have fear that something's going to happen in the future. I can't control the future. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. I
True.
can prepare, but I can't plan. So I'm not fearful.
Ooh, I
I
like that. Say that
right.
again, please. I can.
I can prepare, but I can't plan. I can
Mhm.
prepare. Okay, I'll be as good a human as I can be. I'll try to make the best decisions I can make. I'll be as resilient as I can. So when I fuck up, I'll be able to bounce back quickly because I will fuck up. I will try to learn from my mistakes. I will prepare. I'm a Boy Scout. Come on, I'm a life scout. I am
Mhm.
going to be prepared. But if I try to plan, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. That's all future think. That's all. No, 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 I'm going to prepare. I would like those things to happen, but as soon as I'm planning, I'm not being present. I'm not living in the present.
True.
I take issue, counselor, on
Okay, so keep going. I think you're onto something here.
so the fear, like if I'm living a fear of losing the love of a loved one, then I instantly want to think, what am I doing or what are they doing that is making me fearful? Fear to me, and this, by the way, this this core belief came when I was in preparation to do natural childbirth with my son 50 years ago. And she said, you are going to be scared because this is a no medication, no drugs, natural childbirth. Before that was a thing. And well, the Indians had been doing it, but being the Native
Right.
Americans, but we hadn't. And he said, you're fearful because you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to tell you
Mhm.
every single thing that's going to happen so you can be prepared of what's going to happen. And then you no need to be afraid. Is it going to hurt? Yep, I'll tell you that right now. It's going to hurt.
Mhm.
So if I'm getting a sense that I'm fearful, and which I that will happen, I'll go, hold it. There's something right now that I don't understand. It's my immediate thing. I'll say, oh,
Mhm.
is there something about my behavior that maybe is being misconstrued? Am I fucking? I want to start asking a bunch of questions right
Mhm.
then. Why am I afraid? Well, I'm afraid of what? They're going to leave. Well, why? Because you're fucking up. Oh, why is that? Oh, you're drinking too much, or you're making bad decisions, or you're being a dick, or you're not listening. Big one, you're not listening. And they're tired of you not listening and they can't get out what they want to say. So they're going to say, fuck you and leave. There's all, as soon as I get to fear, okay, hit the pause button, ask some questions. Why do you think that is?
So part of what you're really proposing is the turn is when we have a felt sense of what we would call fear, is to use that felt sense as a catalyst to begin asking questions.
100%. Every time I walk into a haunted house and I'm fearful, right? Oh, fuck. Okay. Am I prepared? Do I have light? Do I have my spidey sense turned on? Have I done, all the things okay, great. I am
Mhm.
prepared for unknown things to happen. Am I okay with unknown things happening? Yeah.
Mhm. So a lot of times I want to say what you said again, because I think it's like unbelievably important. That when we as beings, and since many of the people, or most of the people that will be hearing this are men, when we as men have that inner sense, that felt sense of what we would call fear, that your view, your proposal is that we use that as a catalyst, as a red flag, or as a marker to begin going, okay, what do I need to know? What do I need to be curious about? What do I need to explore? What do I need to, all of those things, prepare for? I really like that. So if we shifted that a little bit into what I oftentimes ask people about is, do you trust yourself? And frankly, the vast majority of people say no. No, I don't trust myself. And many,
Is that situational trust or in general?
well, obviously, the only real answer is it depends. And most of the I know, we're going back a few shows, but most of the time when people say that, it's more in general. It's like, I don't trust myself for this. I don't trust myself for that. But, and then people will say, what's trust mean? Or I'll ask them, what's trusting yourself mean? And many people won't even know that. What I think you're talking about is a way to learn to trust yourself. And my definition of trusting yourself is knowing that you can do whatever you need to do whenever you need to do it. That's my definition of trusting yourself.
Yeah.
And if I find myself in a situation, I go, yeah, can I do whatever I need to do? And can I do it when I need to do it? And it's like, absolutely.
That's a default situation for both of us. I'm curious, is that a learned sense or an innate sense for you?
That's a really damn good question.
That's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen.
This is why Mark and I speak on Saturday mornings. I think what I'm doing is I'm scrolling back to as young as I can remember in my life. I believe it. I believe it's pretty much of an innate sense. What I can say right now is that's in my bones. I don't think about that.
Oh, you mean you're unconsciously competent in
Right.
trusting yourself?
Right. I don't think about, okay, can I trust myself now? What I do think is that I have been fortunate enough to, and boy, it just wraps around where I learned this, whether I learned it or whether I got it through an innate sense. I know that it came from being in nature. I know it came from being outside. And I know that I was outside a lot from very, very, very early. And that's where that came from for me, because I just had to figure stuff out.
You know, we've talked about how relationships are built one brick at a time. It's a metaphor we've
Absolutely.
used, right?
Yes.
And the trusting yourself is a relationship with yourself.
Right on.
And that is built one brick at a time. And so I think mine, when I asked that question, I thought, well, how would I know? How would I know? And you went back to your earliest memory, you could see you doing that. And I think for me, it was maybe there was an initial sense, but it was built upon over years of finding that I could trust my judgment. I don't make good decisions all the time. Look, I'm on my fourth marriage, so I clearly don't make good decisions a lot of the time.
Your last one was a very
Pretty
good
damn good.
decision.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Two thumbs up.
For you.
But you learn and you trust yourself to make better decisions, and you get better, and it's reinforced behavior and all of that. So I think that's what happens with yourself.
So relationally, this is taking this in a little bit different direction. Relationally, if you were going to ask someone for advice, would you ask a man for advice who's been married for 50 years? Or would you ask a man for advice who has had 4 marriages? Who would you go to?
You know, the 4 marriages.
Keep going, please.
Well,
because I saw that one sink in.
well, but because it is through adversity, right? We talk about, we learn from our scars, not from our wounds. And when you've had as many knockdown dragouts as we both have in relationships, we've learned from all of that. And if you were married for 50 years, you clearly didn't have the one that said, "No, I'm out," and you leave, right? So you never had to deal with that deep loss in that sense. That I don't want to. I'm not knocking long-term relationships at all.
Right.
Not even a tiny bit. I'm so happy. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 16th anniversary. Like, that's a big deal, right? This month. So
congratulations.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm proud of that. going to someone that's been there, done that, that has experience, which is kind of to the point of why elders are important,
Mhm.
and why you and I have decided that it's important to, on a very regular basis, pick an important topic and do a deep dive into that so others can learn from that, and just be prepared. It's not gonna,
Yes.
who knows what it's gonna do, but they can be prepared. Hey, here's an outcome you may not have considered.
Right. Yes. And having gone through a lot of endings and beginnings and endings and beginnings, I think is a really important thing. The one of the reasons I asked that question was my I know that in the nation, many men have spoken about either at initiations or calls that I've been on, or calls that you and I have been on together. Many men talk about the struggles that they have in relationships and how broken they feel, and
Mm,
how messy it is when a relationship ends, regardless of whether, I mean, it could end for hundreds of different reasons, anywhere from the woman that they're totally in love with dies from cancer to they were caught having an affair. I mean, it could be hundreds of different reasons and anything in between those things. The many men walk in and or feel when they've gone through those kinds of experiences that they're broken men, that there's something wrong with them, and that there's some failure in having a relationship not work out, and not being able to just say, yeah, the relationship didn't work out, but actually seeing themselves as failures. And the man that I really want to speak to and hear from is a man who has sort of gone through hell and back, and whose life has fallen apart, and who even with that, and this is wrapping back around to the fear piece, that even with that is being able and willing to step into another, possibly another relationship without fear.
you just described the hero's journey.
Well, thank you. That's exactly, I didn't know that that's exactly what I was doing, but that is exactly what I just did. Yes.
Right, because the hero gets a call, and the hero goes, hero gets a guide, hero goes, through their trials. And I think of either Star Wars or Lord of the Rings in both of those cases, right, where
Right.
we follow through a journey of trials and tribulations, and and tested and fired and chalices and all crucibles, all of that
Every
stuff.
way that it can happen. Yes.
And our hero emerges. They may be burned and charred, but they're there.
Mhm.
And what they do is they come back and they teach the lesson. This
Right.
is what I learned, which is why storytelling is so important, because it is wrapping that experience in a story so that the lesson learned can be taken by those who will listen, which is only, by the way, a very tiny
Mhm.
percentage, who will listen and go, oh, okay, okay. And which is kind of the premise of this whole show, which is, when the hero comes back, will you listen?
Right.
And which goes to, now that I'm thinking about this, do I trust the hero?
Right. So this is getting really exciting. So I have to share with you And please share this with all of the people that are pertinent to storytelling that you know, because I was up feeding this morning, so I'm up. I walk up and I'm worried about my horse, who had one of my horses who went lame the other day, has very tender feet right now. I'm working on helping him out. And as I look around, the sun is gorgeous, shining on the trees. The both my big horses are standing eating, and my little pony is like literally, I have a horse here and a horse here with their butts here, and then my pony is standing right in between them. And I wanted, I mean, literally stories began coming to mind about that scene.
Wow.
And one of the things that hit me was I could say to somebody, well, my pony's standing between my two horses' butts. That's one thing I could do. I could also share a story that it would be powerful because it gives the context of the situation. And it's that context that's what hit me. It's like, oh, that's what storytelling is. Because I've been working my ass off on storytelling, but it's like, that's what storytelling is.
There you go. There you go.
Is it gives a context, and it asks people to come in and join you in that context.
Right there in that moment.
In that moment. And it's like,
wow, great.
And all relationships, and we started with, you know, relationships with fathers, sons, brothers. And it's like, what's the context of that holds us? And even when you spoke about, well, that you didn't buy into the concept of fear, which actually makes a lot of sense, by the way, just so that you know. It's like what you're in your curiosity, you're creating context. And actually, interestingly enough, and I hadn't put it in these words until right now, is that you're creating a story.
Mm-hmm.
Which you probably knew, but I just figured it out. So,
because if there is no struggle, there is no story.
And exactly. And if there's no struggle and no story, and many times I have said, what creates trust and therefore deeper relationship is going through a hard time and coming out okay.
Bingo.
Bingo. So
things will go well, or you'll have a story to tell.
Right.
No one wants to hear about your romp in the park. Okay, great, good, thank you. But if your romp in the park was interrupted by a bee that stung you and you had to go deal with, I'm just making things up, but if there was, now I have, you know, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have walked when you saw all the bees. You're like, oh, what's that? The bees.
Totally.
You know, there's here's what's interesting is to what you just said about this experience this morning is we've awakened your radar, your life's radar, to the idea that there's story potential all around you all the time. And when you are present, which we both do as good a job as two humans can do, and if one of your little watchers is looking for stories, right? Because we have lots of watchers looking for lots of shit, but now you've lit one up, which is, hey, is there a story here? And yeah, I could stand there and yep, there are two horses' butt, and there was this lovely young one in the middle. Okay, but the emotion that you had about caring for this animal, the sense of trust that you and the two bigger horses felt, because I would not stand behind a horse. I learned that you don't do that, but you, there was a sense. So that only needs a sentence or two to get us to feel like you very clearly communicated how deeply you felt in what could feel like a mundane occurrence in the day. And it is when we look at each of those things as the seed of a story, like what was the lesson that hit you like bam, was there's story everywhere. So my next question is, did you write any of that shit down?
Not yet, because I literally came down and ate a bowl of granola and sat down and started talking with you. And I will write that down. I mean, even now, all of that's churning inside. And so what's interesting about it and here's the context. I have two large quarter horses, 1,200, 1,300 pounds each. I have a little white pony who is about 1/4 their size.
Wow.
Maybe smaller. And who literally is standing, again, one horse facing left, one horse facing right, and the little pony standing right between their butts. And I'm saying this on purpose because I want to give people a context, is that there's 1,000 perspectives to tell a story from. And a perspective would be putting myself in the shoes or hooves of that little pony. And what's it like standing between these two mammoth beings? What are these two pillars of power? And how do we want to relate to that? And then how can we be in that and carry what you were talking about being there without fear and being there with curiosity? And, you know, how many times do we stand between or in places where there's a huge amount of power around us or a huge amount of possible
stakes are high.
Yeah, stakes are high. And that we go to a place of what we call fear, and we crunch up and lose who we are and what we're about. So
I'm going to guess that you were deeply relaxed in that moment.
Totally, completely.
Yeah. Because you knew Moonbeam, right?
Moondash.
Moondash is the one who's hurt or lame or sore hooves. Is that correct?
Yeah, he has tender feet right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Which has got to suck.
Yeah.
And he knows, you know.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
So
all of this is because you're kind of the father figure. You're the caring figure in that relationship, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And he trusts that you have his best, your best intentions. You will want only the best for him.
Yeah, exactly. The words that I use is with all of the horses, or we have also a cat, is that my job is to give them a good deal. That's my job in life. It's actually, frankly, my job with my partner,
Yeah.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
It's like to give her a good deal.
Yeah.
My job is in all of my relationships is that.
So let's bring this back to fathers and sons. And speaking for myself, I think that I'm frequently will find myself too busy to be the dad.
Mm,
I'm busy. you know me, I'm a busy dude,
oh, totally.
right? And yet my son will reach out, or my grandson will reach out, or my grandson has no filter, and he just leaves me little videos. Pops, I'm trying to get you. Pops, I'm trying to get you. Pops, where are you? Because
How old is he?
he's just turned 9. And the immediacy of him reaching out and me being there, he doesn't understand. It's like, if I call, you answer,
Mhm.
right? But we don't have asynchronous communication because we have different kinds of phones, and he doesn't have a phone, so he has to use some messaging device, which I may or may not see. And it's about making time. And so excuse me, I think this whole week, this whole topic has been in my head, and I've like made a decision that none of the other stuff is more important than those relationships.
Right on.
Nothing. And so pain, even though it, like, I'll blow off a client thing, or I'll blow off and say, hold it, I need to be here, hold space for you, and just to listen. Just like the new show I want to do is just on how to be an active listener.
Mm,
And so it gives me an opportunity to practice listening. It's like, hey, I just need to be there and listen. I don't need to solve a problem. I don't need to give advice. I just need to. They need to feel, there you go. They need to feel heard.
right. So when you're listening and you're hearing, what are you doing and what are you not doing in that moment?
So the thing I'm practicing not doing is making it about me.
Right on.
That's hard. Being very honest, because I will say, that reminds me of, now it's about me,
Right.
instead of, how's that make you feel, or you seem really troubled by that, or gosh, you seem really happy right now. What's, like turning it, like just remembering that these interactions are not about me, they're about them. And that's just, part of being selfish. And if you're selfless, you can do that. That's gonna be 69 next month. I'll finally figure this the fuck out.
Took you 68 and a half years to get that one. I love what you're saying. One of the pieces that in my world creates true listening and truly being heard is that when I am listening, I am doing nothing more than collecting the information that somebody is sharing with me. And here's why I'm saying it that way. The biggest impediment to hearing somebody is preparing a response while they're talking.
That's what the first thing that'll kill an improv scene. I'm thinking about
Really?
where, oh yeah, because the audience heard you say, look out, a car is about to hit you. And I'm thinking about the thing that I want to say about the scene. And I don't even hear you say that a car is going to hit me. And the audience heard it. The world heard it. Bam, the car hits me. And they're like, what would it? Oh, yeah, because I was in my deal.
Right. Right.
So to your point, again, a reason I suggest people go do improv, because you learn a hell of a lot of life lessons in it that have helped us immeasurably. Is that I'm listening to you, I'm looking at you. We even get coached because we video our shows, and our coach looks at the show and he goes, excuse me, where are y'all looking right now? And we're looking at it. We're looking at the ground, coach. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you saw what I saw. Why aren't you looking at each other's eyes?
Right on. Right on. And why? So the other part that it sounds like you're really bringing into this is a level of presence.
Oh, 100,
So
10,000%.
so it's like presence, letting information come in and not preparing a response during the process of hearing somebody out.
And when that person stops talking and you have your time, trusting the universe will give you the right thing to say.
Exactly.
That's our show,
Right.
ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
our
Oh
show.
my
That's
God, that
perfect.
was perfect way to end. Dewey Freeman, you're the best.
You're just fucking unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.